What's going on, guys? This is Danny from Slow Restoration, and today we're doing something a little bit different, and we are actually unboxing and putting together a Nordic Track treadmill. This is the commercial 2950, and I did use the car trailer because I didn't think it was going to fit inside the Yukon, but I was going off the dimensions of the machine put together, not really taking into account being in a carton. So let's take a real quick measurement here, because this would have helped me. 35 inches by only 20 inches. So 35 by 20, and lengthwise it is, let's see here, so 7 foot long, 35 by 20. So like I said, if you're like me and picking this up, the reason I picked it up because we live close enough to Delaware, and there's no tax for shopping in Delaware, so no shipping and no tax helps a lot. So I would have definitely just put it inside the Yukon and not drug the car trailer around, but it is what it is. We got it home now, so let's get these bands cut off. I think there is some instructions on top of the box. Yeah, sort of kind of pulling the lid off and taking some of it off, but with those bands cut off, now we can just lift the top off the cardboard box. So inside the carton here, of course these are kind of the uprights, the front. We'll pull them out, get some of these boxes out, lay them to the side, and the main part of the treadmill, the actual belt and the frame, is right underneath this top here. So we'll get down to that and decide how we're going to manage that. With all this stuff moved out of the way, there's some boxes there. We'll get to them later. Here's our directions and all of our nut and bolts. We can give you some wrenches and stuff like that. So here we're down to the main part of the unit. I assume there's stuff underneath this too, the screen and stuff like that. They do package it pretty well. They actually have a I guess something to keep it from collapsing on this side. It's not wood, it's like that particle board, MDF maybe. We'll set that aside. I think that is just for packaging. So before you go ahead and try and remove this, they do have a lot of these little panels in here, and they have pieces of that MDF in there to keep this anything from poking on the side of the box and protecting the unit. Remove all of them. They're up and down both sides. We got them all thrown in the box over here. I'm going to give this a shot. So we have everything undone here, and we fold the bottom here, the side of the carton off, and we're going to try and rotate this around. If it's like the other treadmill, it's got wheels on it, and we should be able to make it roll. It does have some weight in it, so we got that piece out. The screen is actually packaged underneath that, so that's sitting there. We'll carry that in and get it out of the sun here because it is pretty warm, and then we'll tackle getting this inside. It does have wheels, but the upright is not attached to it right now, so there's no real way of wheeling it. All right, guys, that was no easy feat, but I was able to carry that in. I definitely suggest getting some help. It is quite heavy. I think the shipping weight on this with all the parts on it was somewhere around 350 pounds. I don't know what that bottom piece by itself weighs, but it's not light. So that was a workout. So we have everything inside. All of this is just packaging. So let's get inside and start putting this thing together. All right, guys, so like I said, that was definitely a workout. We got this main body in here along with the rest of the parts. We can start assembling. We got Scout here for a helper. Here's the one we're replacing. Nothing really wrong with it. We're just upgrading, and it's actually for my wife, and it's going to be an anniversary surprise, hopefully. So here's all the parts. Like I said, there's the screen and the console, the uprights, and all the hardware. So let's dive into the directions, and we'll just go step by step and put this thing together. The very first step you're going to want to do is unbox everything. Like I said, they package this stuff extremely well, so there's a lot of packaging. Get all the parts out, lay them all out so you can just grab them as you need them. The uprights, the main part, the console screen section, and all the covers and the strut, the support bar, everything's here. Now the very first thing they want you to do is actually go online and register your machine. So the plate with all the numbers, model number, and all that kind of stuff is right on the bottom right here. Now you will need something to cut I have a razor blade here. We're going to use that to cut all the packaging open and all the zip ties. We cut that zip tie, and there's actually a cable we're going to fish through right here. So we'll unsecure that cable from where it was zip tied in. It's got a plug at the bottom here, like a grommet snap-in plug. And on the right upright, which is right here, down at the bottom, there is a pull string. So we're going to lay the upright beside the machine here, beside the wire. We're going to undo this pull string from this screw. We're not going to let it fall in there. We're going to keep it out. It goes all the way through and attaches to the top there. So we're going to take the bottom of this and tie that pull string. It's like a bread tie kind of. We're going to wrap that around, and then we're going to use that to fish this wiring harness through that upright. And with that attached, we'll take and slip that through. You can actually kind of push it through most of the way. But we'll go to this other end, and as you can see, here's the other end of that pull string. Now we can just pull that. We can hear our wiring harness going through there. So there's the end of our wiring harness. We'll come back to this end, and the green wire stays out. We'll move this over slightly, and then this end will actually snap down in there when we're ready. We're not ready yet. All right, so once we get that wire in there, we're going to twist it so this ground wire is facing this open end where we put the harness through. There's a knob or a notch. It's a tab, rather, sticking off the bottom of this. So we're going to put that under, and then we can take and push that, and we can hear it click in. Our ground wire sticking out. We're going to get rid of this screw and replace it, attaching this wire to this upright with the grounding screw they supply in the bulk kit for this machine. This is just for shipping and just to keep that pull wire in there. And with that screw removed and discarded, the directions tell you all this, but here's our pack of bolts. Right here is the ground screw, number 7. We have our ground screw, and we're going to attach this ground wire to the upright with that new ground screw. Now we're to the point where we're actually going to bolt this to the machine. So the bolts for it are here. It's actually 8, 4 per side. It's the hex head bolts. There's 4 shorter ones, 4 longer ones, and these star washers just slip right over top of the bolt, and you're ready to go. So you got 2 long ones and 2 short ones per side, and they're right here, and the star washers are right here. Next step is pretty easy also. We're going to stand the upright up. Make sure you don't pinch the wiring harness and or that ground strap. And we're going to set that right over on top of this frame here. And then we have our bolts. We still have our pull cable attached, pull string attached to that wiring harness, so we can pull that up when we're done. And the exact same thing on this side. We just don't have the wiring harness to deal with. So 4 bolts, attaches the upright to it. We'll go ahead and start snugging that stuff up. So we're gonna snug all these up, but don't fully tighten them. We need to still move these around a little bit to get the crossbar in. But before we put the crossbar in, we gotta slide the covers down on. So definitely snug these up and don't tighten them, but get them most of the way in, and we'll slide the covers down. Don't snap the covers on quite yet, because we still have to finish tightening those bolts. So now we have our covers slid in place. We do not have them snapped on. We have our crossbar. It has a flange, so that's going to face up. You're going to slip this in between here, just like that. And we're going to use our 4 screws here, 5/16 by 3/4. They're 1, and there's 4 of them. And it even tells you what step you're on per pack of screws. Really nice packaging here. With this crossbar on, the included bolts are tight. They do give you 2 wrenches And these bottom bolts, once we slide this cover up, these are 14mm bolts. All right, next we have the tray. We'll slip that in. Actually, it goes this way. Slips right down on there, and we have 4 of the truss head screws. Again, everything's marked and labeled. We'll start all 4 up in these brackets on either side, and then go ahead and snug those up. Next, we're going to put these 2 handles on the top of the uprights. So these get held on both sides by 1 bolt. Leave it loose for now. Leave a wrench in there. They're loose on this side, and for some reason they supply this screw. They say to take it out and discard it on each side. Not sure why it's even there, but we're pulling it out. And by the way, when you put this side on, make sure the wiring harness comes through this little notch here in the upright. Next, it's time to do some work on the console. We have it all unwrapped and it's set down face down. We have styrofoam under it. We're going to grab these 8 screws. First thing we're going to do is we remove these 4 screws. They're indicating them as I. So there's 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 there. So 1 on each side, 2 in the middle. With those out of the way, we can gently remove this bar. We'll set that aside for right now. Now we'll install these trays. There's a left and a right, and they just set in there, and they're held in 4 screws per side, 8 in total. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same on that side. With these tight, don't over tighten them. You can crack these. Just nice and light pressure. Just make sure they're snug. Now we're going to take that crossbar and we'll lay it right down on here. As you can see, the bolt we already put in. It's got a notch for, and then it's got 2 more holes. There's a 2-inch long one. Goes down through there. We'll start that. This wrench, just to line everything up. And then we do have these small screws. The one in that threaded hole where we remove the other screw. So we'll get that lined up and get that started also. With all those bolts started, we're going to go ahead and tighten them all up. So that bolt, and the screw on both sides. That locks that in nice. Now we're ready to actually put the console on the machine. With that setting up there, we're going to take these 4 screws and 4 star washers and actually start them, 1 here, 1 here. Before we get too far, we do want to plug in the wiring harness. So we snap that in, and we'll just take and push that right down that upright. Just tuck it right up in there. We're good to go. We have these 4 bolts tightened up. Attaches the console on there. As you can see, we're almost out of hardware here, so we're getting pretty close to being done. They do include a zip tie here, so we'll take that. It goes in this top upright hole through here, and we'll wrap that around and secure that wiring harness. We have 4 more of these truss head screws. We'll take them, and they will actually go right here. 1, 2, 3, total of 8 across here and there. Now for the handrail covers, we'll grab the rest of the screws. That's the only screws left in the package. And we'll grab our handrail. We'll take and put our top cover over on the left side. Take our bottom piece, slip it on there, and there's 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll start the screws. Once we get them started, we'll push back to make that seam tighten up, and then we'll tighten the screws up. With all those bolts tightened, these middle 2 we're going to tighten first, or started rather, not tightened. So we're going to start these middle 2 first. It does take a little effort. They actually thread into the metal handle, and there's no thread, so you got to make your own threads. Once we get that started and push forward on this, then we'll actually tighten this 2 centers up first, and then the outside. And then we'll move over and do the exact same thing on the right hand. Next up, we have the latch crossbar. We're going to remove the 2 screws that came in this assembly. We're going to put the star washers on the bolts. And then we're going to lift up. We'll grab these out of the way. We're going to lift the machine up, and then we're going to attach this crossbar underneath. The latch crossbar goes right in that position, your tab facing down. And we'll start our screws that were supplied on either side and go ahead and tighten them up. Once that's in tight, we're going to remove the bolt from here, the bolt from down here. It's a bolt and a nut. And then we have this storage pole, post, whatever you want to call it. This goes in the bottom here. Slip that bolt in through there. Put that nut on there loosely for now, and we'll pivot this up. There is a tie wire here. We'll remove that tie wire. We'll remove the tie wire. There is a sleeve. Leave the sleeve in there, and we'll put that in there and line those holes up and slip the bolt in. As we slip the bolt in, it'll push that sleeve out and align that inner section there. With that slipped through there, now we can take... Oh, I put it on backwards. Make sure you don't do that. The sticker here says this side towards the belt, and we have that on backwards. So we need to rotate this whole prop rod around. Once that's on there the correct way, again, that sticker goes forward. Now, as you operate this, you can see by the foot there, you can take your foot, press on there, push in, and that allows the machine to tilt down. And then when you raise it, get to a certain point, you hear that click, and then that latches it. So now we just tighten these bolts up, just snug. We don't want to collapse these ears. This needs to pivot. That is a shock, so you can actually let go of it and it'll lower itself right down. Last thing we need to do, again, make sure all these bolts are tightened that we put in before in the uprights. So there's 4 bolts per side, 2 to go straight down, 2 from the side. Once they're all nice and tight, then we'll just snap these side covers. You can hear it snap, goes right in place. And with that being done, those 2 covers snapped back in place, we're done. The only thing we have left in our packet here is the little magnet that actually energizes. And that's what makes the machine come on. What do you think?
It's a little intimidating.
So here it's going. She's on a workout. It's, I don't know, Red Rocks or something.
We're hiking. Just stop.
Hiking through trails and somewhere far away. That's it, guys. That's how you assemble, unbox, and assemble your Nordic Track 2950 treadmill.